can't say I have any love for Wisconsin. I mean, they've lost to all the good teams they've played. They don't play hard non-conference schedule. And Miami's just a pretty good football team. Randy Shannon's turned around the program there. Ja'Cory Harris had a pretty good year. I think they win that game pretty easily.
Really? Northern Illinois, Wofford, and Hawaii doesn't make a good non-conference schedule for you? Scott, just the sense that Wisconsin hasn't beaten anybody good, and why would they turn it around here in the bowl game?
I mean, I still think Wisconsin has a chance. I'm not as low on Wisconsin as you guys are. I'm just pretty high on Miami and Florida. Randy Shannon has really brought this program back up, back from when they were fantastic. A 9-3 year this year, ranked in the top 10 at some points. A very good team, just a tough draw for Wisconsin. They are good enough to win a bowl game, but they're not good enough to win this bowl game.
All right, well, let's keep moving on, and we'll go from sunny Orlando, the happiest place on earth, to, I don't know, the place with the most potatoes on earth, perhaps, Boise, Idaho. The Idaho Vandals traveling 5 hours. It's a 5-hour road trip from Moscow, Idaho, to Boise, by the way. I MapQuested it. I guarantee it to you. Actually, 5.5. I just looked at my notes. They're taking on Bowling Green, of course, from just about an hour south of here. Andy, you went with the Vandals on the blue field. Two totally ridiculous things. Why do you think Idaho is going to pull out the victory against the Bowling Green Orange Falcons?
Well, I mean, any football team from Russia is they got to get the W. But, in all seriousness, these are two very potent offenses in weaker conferences. You have Idaho, they've been averaging 451 yards a game to Bowling Green's 391. So, I mean, you both are pretty high. However, I think the difference maker is Idaho's balanced attack. They nearly doubled Bowling Green's rushing, 160 to 81 yards, as well as, Idaho had a rough patch at the end of the year, losing 3 straight. Of course, one was to Boise State, Fresno State, both good teams. The Utah State game, terrible loss. However, you need to keep in mind they were missing their junior quarterback leader, Nick Enderle. He's going to be back for this bowl game. Hopefully he'll be in tip-top shape. And if he is, I think Idaho's going to take this out. Now, there's a caveat for that. Look for Freddie Barnes of Bowling Green. If he can get it hooking up with Tyler Sheehan, I could be wrong, and Bowling Green could take this out. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, well, we're running out of time on your section, Andy. We're actually going over, but we have to talk about the Holiday Bowl. Always a good matchup, and always some very, very strange things that have happened in that bowl. Take a look at what happened 2 years ago in the Holiday Bowl.
Okay. Well, I guess you're looking at me. So now as far as the Holiday Bowl goes, I really think that these are really similar teams and similar niches in their conferences. Lower tier, they had big upsets lately, but I'm taking Nebraska. They had that big victory over Texas, the close loss over Texas. Really showed that they got some gumption. And look for Ndamukong Suh, a.k.a. Diddy Kong Suh, to take this game out. I think Nebraska's going to have it. Okay, so as you can see there, that was
By rule, this is an unsportsmanlike act.
All right, yes, and what happened exactly on this play, Andy?
Well, I mean, it was Mac Brown's stepson, just couldn't really keep his hands off the ball, although he actually did, in all honesty. But, it must have been that momentary lapse in judgment. I mean, I remember this issue. I talked about it on You Say Maize, I Say Blue, that when it happened, whatever, the guy made a mistake. He didn't actually touch the ball. I'm over it.
It's just the ridiculosity of a stepson of a coach stepping on the field and thinking about touching the ball, I think. Of course, it's Arizona-Nebraska. Nebraska coming off the great loss to Texas, came right down to the wire. Colt McCoy throwing out of bounds with 1 second left. I had Arizona, you had Arizona, and Scott, I don't recall who you picked in this game. You had Arizona as well. I guess we're not buying into the Suh hype, though he is a Heisman finalist as a defensive player. Rather impressive. We have to go to a commercial break. Coming back on the other side, the Bulls are getting better. Welcome back to Varsity Blue. Alex Prasad, David Now, Scott Wagner, and we're going to welcome on Wolverine Alley-oop producer Andrew Olmstead here in just a second. Let's take a look at the 4 games we're going to be talking about with Andrew. As I said, the bowls are getting more interesting as we move along. First, the Armed Forces Bowl, a rematch of a matchup. In that one, Houston and Air Force over the past 2 years. We'll discuss that. Oklahoma Stanford in the Sun Bowl. That's an interesting matchup. Iowa State, Minnesota, who really cares? And then Virginia Tech, Tennessee. That's also pretty interesting. And as our picks come up, we'll welcome in Andrew. And Andrew, let's start with that Armed Forces Bowl. You have Air Force over Houston, but of course these 2 teams have played a couple times in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I do. I mean, these teams have gone back and forth over the years, getting a little familiar with each other. Houston, I think a lot of people obviously like because of Case Keenum playing so well, has this team as one of the best pass offense, the best pass offense in the country, playing great. But the Air Force Falcons have the best pass defense in the league, and they also have one of the top 5 rushing offenses in the country. I think the offense gets it going just enough to keep Case Keenum off the field for large chunks of time, and when he is on the field, the defense plays just well enough to disrupt him that I think Air Force pulls this one out.
And so, Scott, these 2 teams have played. Would you like to recap what happened last year?
Last year, okay. Air Force plays Houston regular season. Air Force wins. They play in the Armed Forces Bowl, mind you, same one. Houston beats Air Force. I definitely see that happening again. Houston dropped 56.5 on Rice. So it's hard to see Air Force stopping Case Keenum in that high-powered Houston attack.
Now, David, I don't think that's fair because Sam McGuffey had to sit out a year. If Sam McGuffey had played for Rice, they probably would have rushed for like 800 yards, right?
I don't know about that. But I think all the points Scott made are basically it. Case Keenum's just going to throw all over that defense. I mean, I don't know too much about Air Force. I just don't see them winning the game, though.
Because I picked Air Force last year, correcting my mistake of last year, picking Houston this year, and undoubtedly I'll be wrong both years. Let's move on to the Sun Bowl, Andrew, and everyone, the whole world's against me, I'm telling you. All 3 of you guys picked Stanford. I went with Oklahoma. Andrew Luck may or may not play in this game. That's Stanford's freshman quarterback, but of course, Stanford has some running back that is a Heisman finalist, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Toby Gerhart, a monster season, playing great. I expect him to run all over this Oklahoma team, and whether or not he does receive the Heisman candidate, I expect him to go out there and prove that he does deserve to win the Heisman Trophy. Oklahoma, too many injuries throughout the season. I know a lot of those guys are coming back, but one guy that's notably not coming back for Oklahoma is Sam Bradford. Without him, I just don't think they have the firepower to go point for point with this Stanford team that has just put up so many points on the season. 5 games over 40 points, 2 over 50. Just real impressed by the Stanford offense, and I don't think Oklahoma can match them.
All right, well, of course, as the decider of what B-roll is used, I have a big Oklahoma victory here over Miami, going point for point
they lost
with
this
a point
game.
in offense. Oh, that's right, you're correct. But Oklahoma did look good. Landry is not a bad quarterback, thank you very much. I know he's not a Heisman Trophy winner. Oklahoma plays in the Big 12 South. Last year, we all know the Big 12 South was a fraud. We all got caught up in it. No one played defense. Everyone scored 80 points. They went to bowl games, didn't do so hot. I think the same thing's going to happen this year with the Pac-10. That's why I chose Oklahoma over Stanford. I don't think Pac-10 teams play defense. That's been a knock on them for a long time. This year in particular, are there really like 8 awesome offenses and a whole bunch of good defenses? I don't know about that. That's my justification there. Guys, let's talk about the Insight Bowl now. Both of you went Big Ten, homers here. Went with Minnesota over Iowa State. David, why'd you go with Tim Brewster's crew?
I got to go with Minnesota basically because I just think they're a pretty good team. I think they're underrated. They've beaten some good teams such as Northwestern. I mean, I just think they're a good team. And Iowa State, don't know much about them, don't like the Big 12. I think